I'm so fortunate. I get to interview Antonia Prebble. I've never interviewed you before.
I
Antonia
know.
Prebble. I've only ever gawped at you on the screen. And your latest movie was absolutely extraordinary.
Oh, thank
I remember you in the bathtub being painted white. But actually,
Yeah.
you are quite pale.
I
already.
know.
You're
I'm
pale.
so pale,
Yeah.
and they had to make me even more pale.
Well, you're going to
Took
pale
about 2
Yeah.
hours in makeup. Every
Well,
day.
I know, but we're fortunate because I'm talking to Antonia about living your bucket list. But I think, Antonia, that you've been living your bucket list all your life. When Antonia was a little girl, because I knew her mummy and daddy, your mother told me that she wanted to be an actress, and I think you were about 4 then.
Yeah, I know it is quite odd, but I have known that I've wanted to be an actress from my earliest memories.
Really?
Yeah.
And how at the age of 3 do you know you want to be an actress?
I have absolutely no idea. I don't know. It was just I loved performing from a very young age, and it was like every time I did any sort of performing in the kindergarten review, it was just like the spark would ignite inside me, and I just knew that was what I really wanted to do.
So is being an actress a big part of living your bucket list? Like, when you think about bucket list, what do you think about?
I think in general terms, a bucket list for me is living in alignment with my purpose, my passion, and my values, and that leads to being able to live an authentic life where you constantly are growing and developing in the way that you want. So that for me is my bucket list, and within that broader category there are lots of individual elements. But if I feel like I'm in alignment with my values, maintaining a sense of integrity with what I'm doing, and ensuring that I've still got passion for what I'm doing, then I think that's sort of the for me, it's the best way to know that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
So tell me about your passion, your purpose.
My passion really is performance. And for a long time, interestingly, I found it really difficult to define why I liked it, and I often get asked this question: what is it about acting that?
Because it's hard. I mean, that role that you just played, I mean, having to give birth, it was a tough gig.
Oh my goodness, that really was a tough gig.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so I think for me it's about having opportunities to express myself fully. And even though that perhaps sounds a little bit odd, because when you're acting, I'm not myself, I am other people, but by virtue of playing other people, you have to relate to them, to their humanity in some way, in an authentic way, in order to portray them with any kind of depth. So I think when I can hook into all these different characters, different walks of life, I am able to hook into different parts of me and express that. So I think, and that leads back to living life authentically. So I think whenever we are able to express ourselves fully, and that's an ongoing journey, and I'm still on my journey with that, it's extremely satisfying and fulfilling. So that's why I love it, and I also really want to encourage that in other people. And I think that's the way you can take your own passion and make it a purpose.
So how do you do that? Because it's so hard. You come from a family of tax lawyers
That's true.
and senior public policy analysts at the Treasury. I mean, you could make a lot of money doing other things.
Yeah.
Can you make a living doing this?
It's pretty difficult to make a living.
Feed parcels from home.
Yeah. I have been extremely fortunate in that I have gotten jobs on TV series that go for more than one season.
Yes.
So I was able to make enough money to just survive as an actress and not get any other sort of part-time work. But I am totally aware that that is a very fortunate position to be in, and most of my friends and colleagues do have to do bits on the side to make ends meet and to support their families. I don't have a family yet, so I only have to worry about me.
Marry a rich lawyer.
Yeah, that's right. Tell my boyfriend to change careers. He's also an actor.
Oh, is he really? Great. Excellent. I can see you'll be supporting him.
So yes, it definitely is difficult, but I guess it's just what's important to you. And for me, living in alignment with my values and what I'm passionate about is so much more important than becoming wealthy.
So what else is on your bucket list? I mean, you were so young. You've had a lot of success very young, doing what you want. So when you look out into the future, what else do you want to do?
Interestingly, my bucket list, I feel, is changing somewhat. Only relatively recently, I've started spending a little bit of time overseas, and last year I was away from New Zealand and America and Australia for actually most of the year.
Was that successful? Like, did you get girls there?
I did.
Good.
Yeah, I did a wonderful series in Australia about nurses in World War One called Anzac Girls, which is coming out in Australia and New Zealand later on this year.
Did you have to have an Australian accent?
No, I was actually representing the Kiwis.
Oh,
It was 4 Australian nurses and 1 New Zealand nurse.
Oh, right.
And I was the New Zealand nurse. And then, yes, I was in Louisiana earlier on this year filming a TV series about the Salem witch trials.
Wow.
Yeah, which was pretty interesting. So yes, it was wonderful. In the same way, it's a slow burner, and you just have to keep going back and maintain those relationships and introduce yourselves to casting directors so they know who you are and what you can do. And it's difficult, but it's worth it.
So is your bucket list to be the Angelina Jolie of world theatre?
Yeah, well, it used to be, definitely. I definitely was the kid who wants to win an Oscar, and I would not say no to an Oscar. I mean, gosh, that would be amazing, just to have that recognition within your industry.
Well, that was the amazing thing about listening to Elena Catton. You know, like she hasn't broken 30 yet.
Oh
She's won the Man Booker Prize. I mean, what do you do after that?
Where to from there?
Yeah, well, what? I don't know. Where do you go from there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Get another one?
Oh, yes, I suppose so.
But yeah, so no, I would absolutely love to achieve success of that kind within my industry and what I'm passionate about. But from spending a lot of time overseas, I really am now valuing New Zealand more than ever, and my family and my friendships in New Zealand. And because when you're away, you miss things. You miss out on the daily interactions, and you miss out on the big life events. And as I'm getting older, and as my parents are getting older, and my sister's just had a baby, and
Has she really?
yeah,
She said she wasn't going to have a baby.
I know.
They lie.
Couldn't resist. And he's amazing.
Oh, right.
And I want to spend more time with them, and
Yes.
so that feels more important now. So a part of my bucket list is actually trying to find that balance between work and life. What a concept,
okay.
work-life balance.
Yes.
Yeah, and spending time overseas and forging ahead myself, but really not missing out on those relationships that there's a finite amount of time.
Wow, that's very deep for one your age. Usually you get to that stage where you're a little bit older. You know, at this stage people are very much about acquiring material things, building their CV. But actually, when you've done all of that, you realise that actually the most valuable things in life are experiences, they're memories, and they're about relationships.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
So what type of actress are you? Are you the Meryl Streep of the world? I mean, Meryl's amazing because she can do any movie, you know?
Oh, she's a chameleon.
Yeah, she is. Is that what you are? Are you that sort of actress?
Well,
are you more the Hugh Grant sort of actor? Hugh's always the same person, whichever movie he's in.
Yes, and he's delightful.
Oh, yes.
But
you know, he's just himself.
Well, I mean, I feel hopelessly inadequate to say I'm anything like a Meryl Streep, but I think if you look at the work that I've done and the characters I've played, they are all very different.
That's right.
So, and that's actually what I love. One of the things that I love most about
that you can transform.
Yes, and play this extraordinary range of people of all ages, all ethnicities. Actually.
So is that your gift, that you can become that person? Is that the gift?
I suppose so. I think it's it's definitely a part of it, and I think a lot of it actually just comes from empathy and sensitivity. Actually, if you can recognise the humanity in someone else and recognise your humanity in someone else, or recognise their humanity within you, it really is that idea of walking in someone else's shoes for a while.
So how does it feel getting into a character and then getting out? I mean, particularly because some of your characters are a bit traumatised.
I know. Yeah, White Lies movie you're referring to, that definitely was the hardest role I've ever played.
It was an amazing movie. It was spooky. It gave me goosebumps. It was fantastic.
Oh, thank you, mate.
Well, you know, it's all about skin colour again. I mean, it's ridiculous.
I know, and it's still set in the 20s, but it's still relevant.
It still speaks today.
It does, doesn't it?
So you started Shortland Street. Tell me about that. Did you love that?
Outrageous. I haven't actually done Shortland Street.
Oh, sorry, Outrageous.
Yeah,
Fortune?
Outrageous.
Sorry.
No, totally fine. Totally fine. Yes, Outrageous was wonderful. I started acting. Actually, my first TV job was when I was 12 on a children's show called Mirror Mirror. And then for 5 years after that, all through high school, I did a series called The Tribe. And then after that, I did Outrageous when I was 20. I got that job. But that really took my career into a whole new dimension. And it was the first thing that I'd done for adults as opposed to children's sort of content. So the caliber of the scripts and the other actors and the production in general was a huge step up for me. And it was a wonderful experience, really. I feel like with Loretta, my character was a gift of a character because she had limitless scope.
Right.
Because she was so sort of intelligent, you know, so she could go anywhere, and she grew so much over the 6 seasons that it was just always interesting. It was
so do you have a view, you know, there's all this discussion about the fact that men can go forever, but women have a limited shelf life, and you know, in the movies, I mean, basically as long as they're young, beautiful, they can act, and then after that, you know, they're on the shelf.
Unfortunately, it is a reality, and you can decide whether you want to buy into that reality, but I'm trying not to. I think I've got a few years left in me, but by Hollywood standards, actually not that many years.
Wow.
Yeah, which is why I've had to be going over now. Once you're in the door, you can work. Once you are known, then there are roles for women over 35. Not nearly as many, but there are some. But you have to sort of make yourself known to them when you're younger, so they'll kind of follow you. Whereas if you go over it as a 35-year-old, they'll say, well, why get you when we've got all these other hot young things.
The thing is, life is limited, so how do you choose what you're going to do and what you're not going to do?
Well, I choose things based on what I believe in and what feels right. And Oprah Winfrey, who people think what about her.
I like her.
I love her.
Sorry, she came from nothing.
Yeah.
She's one of the richest, most influential women in the world. Yeah, okay, so people crying on couches isn't quite what I do for a living, but she's the most influential black woman in the world.
I know. If she went for president, she'd get it.
Oh, she would.
Who wouldn't vote for it?
So, I mean, when my husband says, Oprah, I say, yeah, and how famous are you?
She knows a thing or two, but she had this, I read this quote from her one day, and I was like, oh wow, that completely resonates with me. So her worldview, my worldview is just pretty much like Oprah's. And she says the best way to ensure, the essence of it is, the best way to ensure success in life is to find something that you love, work really hard at it, find a way to give it back to the world in a form of service, and also be aware that the universe has its own sense of timing. So just go with the flow. And
I love that.
I know, right? And that's really what I feel.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, last words of wisdom in terms of living your bucket list?
I think living your bucket list, get on with it. I think having that idea of the little bird and reminding you that things aren't going to last forever is a wonderful way to remind you to just get started. Just
you must meet heaps of people like I do who say, oh, I'm so unhappy, but I could never do what you do, and I just want to say to them, get on with it. If you're not happy, you got one shot, make yourself happy.
I agree. I think a lot of people don't know how to get them out of sticky situations. They don't quite have the tools or the support network to help them. I know with a lot of actors, it's one of the difficulties of an acting career is that it's very uncertain and it's not linear at all. So you could have a great year, you could have a great decade, and then all of a sudden no one wants you. So it's those times when you have no structure, external structure, and you have, because often we identify ourselves with our jobs. What are you? I'm an actress, or I'm a lawyer.
It's like Johnny Depp. He was at the Heights, and now he sort of kind of made some bad movies, and people are starting to say, can he come back? It's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
After Pirates,
For that. Precisely, and so I think if you're not working, people can have a bit of an identity crisis in a way, because I'm an actor, but I'm not an actor. Therefore, who am I? So it's a tough circumstance to be in, and if you don't have a support network or tools to get out of that, I think it's very easy to become passive, and then you sort of become paralyzed, and then you just get depressed. Really, if you're not moving forward, you stagnate. So I think. Yeah, for anyone that does feel like that, the best way to get out of it is to do something, is to find a reason to get out of bed every day, and studying is fantastic. I've been doing my arts degree part-time while I've been acting, and it's it's been a godsend. When I'm not working for a while, I've got to get out of bed. I've got to write my
Understood.
essays.
Right.
And it's keeping your brain active, and it's trying to not just be defined by what you do. We're so much more than what we do, and we've got so much more to offer than this sort of little me version of, okay, well, I'm just an actress. It's like, no, I'm an actress, but I'm also a family member. I'm also a friend. I'm also these other things. And if we can just kind of constantly keep as a daily practice, who am I from my higher, broader, biggest self, and how can I give that to the world as a form of service? And then there's always so much to do.
It's true. Finally, have you got a will?
No.
Nah. Go to willtolive.co.nz.